For some reason, I can't hear you. Hold on one second. Okay, you there?
Yep. Can you hear
Oh,
me?
there you are. Hey, Rob, how you doing?
Good. How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good myself.
Right. I'm just getting set up here. Jeez. Phone has been blowing up this morning.
That's kind of a good thing, isn't it? Busier than a one-arm painter, right?
It's has been a good thing. It's starting to get a bit overwhelming though. It's like it's crazy. I don't know, like maybe in the last 3 weeks, all these buyers are starting to emerge from hibernation, it feels like.
Is
So
that right?
yeah.
Of course, I think isn't that kind of a reflection of all of the deals that you're also putting out there on the marketplace too?
Yeah, I think that's part of it for sure. But I mean, even like towards the end of last year, like we were still putting out maybe just as many deals.
Hmm.
But the buyers were wanting like a lot larger premium or discount rather to ARV than maybe they're looking for now. Like, so maybe they were buying at like 50%, 55% of ARV now. And
Hmm.
or then, and now they're willing to pay like maybe 65% of ARV, So properties had to be like really, really deeply discounted, like
Yeah.
way more so than they previously were in order to get deals sold.
Hmm.
So yeah.
So,
So
so
what's going on with you?
well, so that actually brings me to my question here because I saw your post. I don't know how long ago. This was maybe a few weeks ago about how some of these wholesalers are locking up their deals at too high of a price.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that because there's too many wholesalers that I see that are so desperate to get a deal that they'll make offers that are that we know that investors aren't gonna bid on.
Right.
So my question to you at this point, with the current market that we're in, what percentage of ARV are you suggesting that these wholesalers make as far as their offers? Is it some wholesalers would say go down to 50 or 60, some as high as 75 or 80 in like some of these hotter markets. But what are you finding nowadays in this market?
Yeah. Well, I think to be on the safe side, obviously, the lower that you can lock it up, the better. But as
Yeah.
a general rule of thumb, like 55% probably of ARV is probably a pretty safe bet to be locking up deals, right? So,
Yeah.
but then again, it depends on the condition, right? So, like if it's
Yeah.
strictly cosmetic fixer, obviously it can go higher than that. But like in general, I would say if I'm just doing kind of a quick rule of thumb type of thing, and somebody sends me a deal and I see it's priced already at 65% of ARV, I know it's
Hmm.
probably going to be a tough sell unless the primary exit strategy either isn't a flip, maybe it's a buy and hold,
Yeah.
or if it's going to be a very, very light cosmetic. Or the other potential thing is if it's a Dadu type deal in Seattle, investors will definitely pay up to like 80, 85% of ARV on
Mm.
property in Seattle that they can put a Dadu on the lot,
Mm. Okay.
right? Because if they are able to basically break even on the flipping the house, then the Dadu is pure profit.
Yeah.
And there could be, a couple 100,000 in profit just by building and selling the Dadus. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, like you say, like some of these wholesalers are just so excited to like be talking to somebody that's interested in selling their property. And I was just talking with a wholesaler this week who's got a multifamily deal that they're talking to the seller about, and so they just want to get it locked up. And I took a look at it, and it's been sitting as for sale by owner for almost a year now, and the seller's giving the wholesaler whatever price he has it listed at as FSBO, right? And no, it's not going to work. Everybody is going to see that this thing has been sitting FSBO for a year. And if you lock it up at that price and then we have to send it out above that price, like we're just going to get tons of shit from buyers.
Exactly. Yeah. Why would you even put it out at that point, right?
Yeah, exactly. So and this is his first deal too, this particular wholesaler's first deal. And I was like, I think there's a lot lower hanging fruit than this deal. Like, but I also think he's not putting in a ton of effort. He was just looking for FSBO deals and trying to lock them up at whatever the seller's wanting.
Yeah.
For them. So, yeah, that was an interesting.
Now, did you also?
Yeah.
Did you also just mention? I may have missed this too. That the buyers nowadays they're coming at it about 60 to 65% that they're willing to pay. I mean, in general, outside of Seattle.
Yeah. Like, so this is in Seattle area. Oh,
Yeah.
Outside the city of Seattle. Yeah. So if it's a dadu, it would be more than that. But if it's a flip, yeah, I would say, like, if I see a deal that's like at 65% of ARV, I'm thinking, okay, that's a deal that I can probably sell.
Okay.
If it's higher than that, it's a maybe, depending on the location and condition and stuff like that. But
yeah.
So typically trying to get deals locked up for, under 60% of ARV. So,
yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So where are you seeing stuff? Like, what's kind of been your experience over the last couple months with how the market's been going?
Well, over the so I have a little team that I transitioned all of them about 8 months ago to do just strictly commercial.
Okay.
And when I say commercial, I'm talking about more so like the office building, retail. Then over the past couple months, more multifamily, like between 10 and up to 50 units. So that's what really I've been focusing on lately. But it seems like I'm getting a lot more of these sellers who are coming to me saying, "Hey, I have a possible single family right now." And I don't know if that's telling me that maybe with the current market environment, interest rates rising and things like that, that maybe that they're now a lot more desperate or a lot more motivated sellers on the single family side that are coming out. So I don't know if that's what you're experiencing, or if or maybe the flow is just the same.
Yeah, I think there's probably a number of factors going on. So you had the initial shock from sellers last year, right, where they were in a bit of disbelief about they couldn't get what their neighbor got, 3 months prior. Actually, it was significantly less. So a lot of them just kind of sat on the sidelines and said, okay, well, I'll just stay put then, so maybe there wasn't a ton of motivation there where these people had to sell. They maybe wanted to sell, but didn't have to.
Yeah.
So with that, the market kind of thawing now and prices, moving up a bit, there might be people that had wanted to sell last year, but now are actually looking to do it now. And there could be some FOMO there too, right? Because now that prices are starting to move up, if a house that they were looking at, now costs 50,000 more than it did, 3 months ago or 6 months ago, this money that they thought they were going to save by waiting for interest rates to go down has now evaporated, right? Because now the prices are starting to move back up. So yeah, so there could be some of that going on as well. So that could be part of it. Plus, springtime, summertime tends to be busier anyway.
Yeah.
Also, school's going to be out soon, so it's going to be a good time for people to move while the kids are not in school. So there's kind of deals that you're coming across, are these like motivated seller deals, or are these like retail type listing deals?
They're still mostly retail type listings. I mean, these are real estate agents that I've just had acquaintances with on the single family side. So they're coming to me saying, "Hey, do you have any possible buyers, including myself, for a single family house?" And of course, at this point, again, I'm focusing primarily on I've been focusing on commercial, but it seems like with the economy that the way it is, teetering on this possible recession, that there might be more and more opportunities on the single family side, which is why I'm thinking about getting my team back on maybe focusing on wholesaling those side, for that side of the spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
So
Well, it definitely wouldn't hurt. Like, so if you're getting leads coming in, you might as well take advantage of it, right?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
In fact, and it was recently, so the couple of agents came to me and said, "Hey, I have a couple deals." And we put in an offer at, I believe it was certainly, I mean, these were properties that have been on the market, for anywhere from 4 to 6 months. In fact, I think one of them being probably as far as 8 months. And we just said, "Hey, let's just throw an offer out on there." I have to take a look at some of the numbers, but yeah, I think we threw them an offer at something like 70% less, like $100,000 on rehab. And the agents came back to me and said, "Yeah, let's talk." So I said,
Oh,
"Huh."
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, and these are on market properties, right? And these are properties that are listed by realtors, and they've had it listed for quite some time. Now they're just looking for something. So we just
Yeah.
do it. Yeah,
I've had mixed success with that, right? Like
yeah,
it's been interesting. Like, well, and maybe this is too because the seller, this was during a time period where the sellers might have still been in a bit of disbelief about prices dropping as much as they did. But number of people I had talked to, the house had been sitting on the market for 60 plus days, obviously needed work, and told the agent where I would need to be on price, or somewhere significantly less than what it was listed at, and basically the agent's like, yeah, hell no, like there's no way the seller's gonna consider that, you
yeah,
know and just walking through my numbers with the agent and kind of trying to educate them on, like, okay, just because the purchase price is 400 and the ARV is 500 and maybe it needs 50K in work doesn't mean I'm going to make a 50K profit flipping this, right?
Mhm. Oh yeah,
And so just walking through, okay, you got, obviously they should know about transaction costs and commissions and closing costs. And then you got the hard money financing costs in
yeah,
there, which is pretty significant, and other holding costs and all that stuff. So, they're pretty much looking for somebody that wants to put the money in to fix it and then live in it, when it's done. That's like their unicorn buyer that they're trying to find for their deal. So,
yeah,
but I guess if you know they're not really willing to drop their price, and there's not like a ton of motivation there either, right? But
yeah, exactly.
I always just take this as an opportunity also just to talk to the agent and kind of just try to establish a relationship there and let them know, like, hey, like these are the exact type of properties I'm looking for though. So if you come across anything where there is more margin in it potentially, I could be, so that would be something I'd be willing to take a look at then. But
Yeah,
but yeah, but you don't know unless you have that conversation with the listing agent. And even when the listing agent tells you something, it's not always the case. Like I had this experience on a deal where somebody knew the listing agent on the deal. They like, I know the listing agent. The listing agent said the seller is motivated and they want an offer. And so I was like, cool. It was listed for 400. ARV was probably 500, but I figured I needed to be around 300 on it in order to work.
mhm.
So I was like, okay, awesome. Let's submit an offer for 300. And so they talk to the listing agent. Listing agent's like, yeah, seller's motivated, but don't even bother sending an offer below 350. So I was talking to my agent. She's like, yeah, let's just not bother, and we're wasting our time. So then the
Yeah.
price came down to 375, and I was like, okay, let's do it now. Like, let's submit an offer for 300 and see how it goes.
Mhm.
It's like, no, they already said they're not going to look at anything below 350. So we're just wasting our time writing an offer up and sending it in. So I was like, okay, let's just keep our eyes on it, and if they do another price drop, we'll see what happens. So I checked back in 3 weeks, and it's sold and closed, like not pending, it's been closed. And I'm like, what? I look at the sale price, and it was 305.
Oh, no way.
I was like, this is like the perfect example of missing like 100% of the shots you don't take, right? Like, even though the agent like had blown us off and said, don't bother submitting anything below 350, like obviously there was some motivation there for the seller to like take a look at an offer that was below what the listing agent was telling us, right? So I was like, lesson learned, like, let's just stick to our numbers. It doesn't hurt just to submit the offer and see if we can have a conversation there, with the seller or the agents at that point. So
That's to learn to submit the written offer anyways. Is that what you're saying?
yes,
Yeah.
exactly. So
Yeah, I've always been told too that offers also we use as like a marketing piece where maybe down the road they can say, hey, this person made me an offer. I'm not considering it now, but maybe 3 months from now, 6 months from now, we'll look at it. I mean, I've always been a big believer just submitting the offer anyway, but I haven't had any buyers come or any sellers come back to me and say, hey, here's your offer again. I want to look at it.
yeah, but you never know.
But you never know, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, when I was doing deals in Oklahoma City, we had a pretty efficient process of submitting offers on MLS deals. So like every MLS deal was coming into our Podio, our CRM, and then I had my virtual assistant just doing a very rough comp on every deal coming in.
Mhm.
And then if it was listed at like 80% ish of ARV, then it would send me an alert saying, hey, this could be a deal. It's already priced below market. And then I would comp it myself. And then if it was actually a deal, I'd type in like what I wanted our offer to be and hit a button, and it would just generate and fill out the MLS form, put all the stuff in, buyer name, legal description, price, earnest money, title, closing date, blah, 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 blah.
Mhm.
Then send it off to my agent that I was working with down there. And then he would just forward it on to the listing agent. And so we were pumping out like 70 to 100 offers a month on
Wow.
MLS deals. Yeah. And maybe locking
Okay.
up and wholesaling anywhere from 2 to 4 of those a month. And that's
Okay.
before the MLS that was before the MLS blew up in that like during the pandemic, like you couldn't get a deal on the MLS anymore because everybody was like bidding on everything, right? So,
Mhm.
but yeah, so I've
So
been bringing that back.
so that actually is a good segue. Because I have my real estate agent. She was asking me. Obviously, there's a bunch of forms on the the NWMLS, right?
Mhm.
There is so many forms. It's I think she was saying that it probably takes her maybe on a very quick side, maybe 10 to 15 minutes per offer to just fill out all the forms.
Mhm.
Now I know that with technology and AI tools and things like that, I got a degree in IT years ago, but I know that there are some tools nowadays where you can put in, and I think you had the system down. You put the information in like one time, then it can spit out an offer in a matter of probably minutes, right? Is there a tool that you use for that, like a software tool or some development tool?
Yeah, so it was a combination of Podio, which was our CRM, and then just a DocuSign basically. So we had a template set up. And no, here's the thing is like, we weren't submitting proper offers. So like a proper offer, they will have like, they'll go get the seller disclosure, put that in there, they'll get a proof of funds. But all we want, the purpose of this offer that we're sending is to get a conversation going.
Yeah.
If they say, oh, we saw your offer, we're interested, but you forgot to put the seller disclosure in there, or you forgot to include proof of funds or something like that, then we can go back and get it, right? But we're not wasting our time doing all that stuff on the 9 out of the 10 offers that we submit where we never hear anything back, from the agent. So
was it more of like just a generic purchase and sale agreement, and then using that as a template?
Yeah, so we were using the MLS PSA, and we put that in the DocuSign. We had the DocuSign, like we had a buyer field, we had, the legal description, the purchase price, earnest money amount, title company. And so all that stuff was kind of like a predefined field that we were able to put in with DocuSign, and then Podio, when we click the button, would automatically autofill those pieces of information into the MLS form.
Okay. Oh, gotcha. And is that what you're doing with the NWMLS here in Washington, or?
No, I haven't done that here. So all the MLS stuff that we've done here has been manual. So I haven't set up an automated process for the MLS deals here in this state.
I'm having my developer take a look at it. So if and I know that he's pretty good. So if there comes a time that he gets this done for me, I'm hoping within the next couple of weeks, and maybe I'll share that with you. Because I like the fact that in the past, so on my commercial deal, I actually have a template also. It's not a CEBA form here, but it's just a commercial template, and I can type in basically like less than 7 fields, and then in about 2 minutes, it'll automatically spit out a whole contract, a 15-page contract with obviously certain things in it, and a signature. And I was able to do that in a matter of probably less than 5 minutes.
Okay.
So I figured I could probably do that on the NWMLS forms also.
Yeah.
But if I ever get that, I'll share that with you. Okay, I'm sure it'll probably save you some time.
It'd be cool to see that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. What's up, Jake?
How's it going, Rob?
Not bad. How you doing?
Pretty good.
So what have you been up to?
Just really trying to push for seller finance and sub 2 deals.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going pretty well. It's decent.
Yeah, I got a couple that we're working on right now. The seller's just wanting or needing way too much down payment though to make sense for most investors. They're wanting like 50% down payments, and it's like a 500K purchase price or 600K purchase price. So I was like, this is not going to be very enticing by a 300K down payment, unless the terms are just like smoking, but they're
incredible. No, I have probably the most complicated one I've done so far, closing next Tuesday. Hopefully, we'll see. But it's $475K purchase price. It's going to be like 33% down, but we're going to do it as a wrap. And we're just going to create a second loan to service the first loan.
Mm-hmm.
Going to be on a 30-year term. So that way, once the first loan is paid off after the 30 years, then the balloon is just going to be to pay the rest of the equity to the seller.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not a bad deal, but it cash flows like $900 a month.
That's not bad.
So it's a little higher down, but since the cash flow is there, I think it's pretty good.
So like 30, what you said, 33% down?
33% down. It's like, I'm asking 130, so it's like 35% down.
Okay. So wait, you're asking 130 purchase price or 130 down payment?
130 down payment, 475 purchase price.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I definitely know. And what's the interest rate on the mortgage?
On their current mortgage or the second position that we're going to do?
Whatever the buyer's going to be paying.
The buyer, it's going to be 5%, but it's interest only.
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, I definitely know investors that are okay doing a larger down payment if they can get pretty good terms like that, where they're cash flowing pretty well.
Yeah, so it should be a good one for whoever picks it up.
Yeah. So are you seeing more opportunities for cash deals again there, or is that the reason that you're still focusing on the creative side?
Yeah, cash deals here in Utah, they're kind of dwindling a little bit. It just doesn't make sense. And so most of the investors that I work with are switching more towards creative financing, really pushing for sub 2. If they can find somebody who has a loan at 2 or 3% and just take it over, buy them out of a little bit of the equity. That's really what everybody's kind of pushing for here.
Yeah. So how's the market been like the last couple of months?
It's been okay. It feels like it's gone up a little bit the past few months here, and now it's just kind of plateaued.
Yeah, that's kind of what we've seen as well. Well, I mean, the retail price has gone up, so inventory here is like gotten super low again, like where it was last year before things tanked. And then now the cash buyers seem to be coming back in a pretty major way, especially on anything that is like below 500K price point. We're just getting, we had a deal that had two sight unseen offers on it last week. Is boarded up, condemned by the city. We had pictures of the inside, but weren't able to get people through there. And I was like, we're not going to be able to sell this without getting people through there. And we did, like 2 days later. So I was pleasantly surprised. But I was like, I didn't realize those days were back when people are buying deals just based off the pictures.
I've never been able to sell a sight unseen.
Really?
I haven't been able to do it. I tried, but everybody just wants to at least see it.
Yeah. Even so we had some deals last year when things were super hot. We could even get people inside, but people were afraid they were going to lose the deal if they waited till the showing. So they would lock it up just based on the pictures. And then if we had a video, walk through, that's even better. But yeah, so we have had a few of those. And we had one too where we actually had no pictures of the inside. We had pictures from a listing from like 6 years ago. And then there was an uncooperative tenant in the property that wasn't going to let anybody in there. So basically whoever was buying this deal was going to buy it with this tenant and not knowing what the interior condition was like. And somebody bought it. Yeah. So I guess the key is though that it has to be a really good deal in order for somebody to assume that sort of risk, right?
Yeah.
So yeah. But yeah, we have had a few. So I don't know. Maybe those days are back now.
Oh, that'd be awesome because
I know getting 25 offers off of an email blast. Those were like the good old days, not having to do any showings and all that sort of stuff. So,
cool.
So you got that one sub 2 deal in the works, and then you got some other creative finance type deals that you're working on right now, or
too. And I'm still trying to understand more about the different things you can do with creative financing, because it just seems like there's an endless amount of options to do with creative financing. So I'm just trying to absorb as much as I can, so that way it becomes like muscle memory on how you can talk to sellers and offer different solutions.
So are you keeping any of these deals for yourself, or are you wholesaling everything that you get?
Not at the moment. I kept one, just because it was a $5,000 down,
Mm-hmm.
but the rest on wholesaling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it seems like it's kind of a no-brainer when you don't really have to come out of pocket very much on that deal. So like what was the cash flow on that one like?
The cash flow on that one was only like $300 a month, but I just had to catch up 2 payments they were behind 2 payments on their mortgage, and they said that they would carry the note for the next 28 years. That was on there, and it was at like a 3.4%. It was a VA loan,
Uh-huh.
and they just said, catch me up and it's yours. And I'm moving out next week.
Wow. And was there any equity in there given it was a VA loan?
There was about 30,000 in equity. Yeah.
Okay.
So that one was a no brainer.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I'm kind of torn now if I come across a deal, if I take it down myself or not. I just did a post about sub 2 and kind of pain in the ass that it's been to manage some of these things.
I watched that video that you made about how it took like 8 months to evict. And
Yeah, that was on the foreclosure and but like I don't know, I've just had issues with like lenders and insurance and things not being quite right on the policy. So the lender comes back and says, or they don't come back, they'll just get a forced place insurance policy. And I don't realize it until I get a mortgage statement and my payment's gone up, a couple $100 a month. So it's like, I don't know, man. I don't know. Our single family house is a passive investment. I feel like I do a lot of busy work related to these things.
yeah, and I think that's kind of the turnoff for me about keeping some of these. Is I don't want to spend the time doing that. I don't want the having to, manage 4 different types of payments to make sure the mortgage gets paid, and be in constant contact with whoever's providing insurance or whoever's servicing the loan and escrow accounts. And I just don't want to do that.
Yeah. And then like on another deal, like the seller contacted me because they were buying another property, but their lender wanted all this documentation to show that I was making the payments on this mortgage on the deal that they sold to me. And then they wanted like HOA documentation. Like it was like all the stuff that they needed. And it was like, who's applying for the mortgage? Is it me or is it these people that, had sold this house? And it ended up taking a lot of time. And I feel like you either need you need to own like 3 houses, or you need to own like 50 houses. And that at that point, then you can hire somebody to do like all this busy work.
Right. At that point, have your own management company or paying the management company to do all that.
Yeah. So do you own stuff, Vern?
I own quite a few multifamily. In fact, and that's actually part of the reason why I kind of moved away from the single family, because my last flip was probably about a year and a half ago, and dealing with the contractors at that time. And keep in mind, I've only done it maybe over the past few years, maybe around 50-ish flips, give or take.
Mhm.
And this last one gave me so much brain damage with this contractor that I just said, I think that's going to be my last flip. From here on out, I'm just going to wholesale everything. So that's why I moved really more to multifamily, just because I have just instead of there used to be a time years ago when I had like 5 rental properties, like one in Tacoma, one near the U District, one in South Seattle. And it just drove me crazy just trying to do property management on five units.
Right.
That's what drove me out of the business years ago. And I said, I don't think I'm cut out for just the property management side. So I said, why don't I just try to get maybe 5 units in one location? And that might be a little bit better on the property management. And then certainly if you get 20 units, it's going to be a lot better, because then you have now economies of scale. I can have one property manager, and I can go to one location instead of going to 20 different locations. So that's kind of been my experience. And now I'm at the point now where I'm just looking at where multifamily is now. it can be just as property intensive on the management side as managing 50 single family homes. So I said, I need to take a look at some of these buildings where they're like triple net type buildings, right? You just have one tenant, one good quality tenant that pays you for a 3 or 5 year term. So those are the kind of deals that I'm looking at now. In fact, I'll talk to you after this because I do have a commercial deal that I thought was dead. I had a couple partners pass on it, but I'd be curious. I'm going to run this commercial deal by maybe you and your investors
Okay.
and see if there's a possibility here. This is a $3 million building with rents that are really low. And if we increase the rent, this could potentially be about a $7 or $8 million building.
Oh, wow.
But I'll run the details by you so that nobody, I mean, not that, this is, your forum, but I want to run this by you personally and see if, we can run this by your investor group and see if there's any takers here.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely anything value add. So is the value add there just strictly in getting the rents up, or is it is there going to be some renovation required?
It'll be both. It'll be both.
Okay.
But even if you put in $1 million in this building, it can, like I said, by the rents on this are, the market rents on it are about $13 a square foot.
Mhm.
And right now, the current tenant in there is paying something like a quarter of that.
Okay.
And that's because the seller, I mean, I'm sorry, the current owner made an agreement with the tenant in there that said that they can't increase the rents on this until they sell the building.
What?
Exactly.
That
And
is a sweet deal for the tenants. How did they negotiate that?
They were able to do it, and he's owned this building now for about maybe 8 or 10 years.
What?
So he just wants to be able to get out of it, just so that there's a whole story behind it, which I'll share with you, after we're done here. But like I said, a couple of partners kind of passed on it because they just had other things that they wanted to do. But I think it's still a possibility here. So I'll talk to you more about it afterwards.
Okay. All right. Interesting. That's crazy that somebody would agree to that, though. Like
he did, and he's kicking. Yeah. He's every time I talk to him, he's an 80-year-old guy. Anytime I talk to him, I've talked to him maybe about 8 or 10 times. He's always complaining about, God, those guys are just raping me. They're just killing me. They're he even calls them the devil. The tenant, there's just the devil because they But he knew what he was getting into.
Yeah, I wonder, was he like not anticipating holding the property for that long or something? Maybe, I don't know.
Probably. In fact, he did say that he just wanted to get somebody in at the time because he just needed to get somebody in. And of course he didn't. Funny thing is, he owns 19 commercial buildings in this area, and so he's not like he's a newbie.
Right. Yes.
He's very seasoned.
Somewhat savvy.
Oh, very, very savvy. He just on that one deal, you always have that one deal that you just should have said, I wish I didn't do that. And that's one of those deals.
Well, I guess the question too, is he still gonna end up making money, in appreciation on it, or is it just that the rents are so low that he's not going to be able to like get out what he had, put into it?
Well, he actually bought the building for 2.5. So that's what he says. So he's making, I don't think he's making a whole lot of money considering he put, quite a bit of, he put some money into it already. But I'll tell you the whole story at some point. I actually wrote it up for this other investor to look at, but I'll send it over to you. We can talk about it.
Okay, awesome. Sounds good. Yeah. All right, cool. All right, well, I'm gonna jump off here. Jake, I'll talk to you at some point too as well. Got your message in, so I'm traveling down to Phoenix tomorrow, but I'll try to figure out what my availability looks like over the next few days.
All right, yeah, that sounds good.
Cool. All right, guys.
All right, thanks a lot, Rob. Jake, good to meet you.
Thanks, Rob. Good to meet you too.
All right. See you guys later.